Um, okay, thank you. Good evening, Kunal sir.
Good evening, madam. Good evening.
So, Team RFI, can we start? Okay. So, good evening, respected members of the Research Foundation of India. Our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni sir, and all esteemed participants. I'm Dr. Neha Jain, the program coordinator, and it is my privilege to extend a warm welcome to each of you on behalf of Research Foundation of India. Today marks the sixth day of the Faculty Development and Training Program on a step-by-step guide to writing a good research paper. In today's session, we will explore the critical topic of hypothesis development and testing. This collaborative initiative has been organized by the Synergy Research Foundation of India and RFI-CARE in association with City University Punjab and Shodh Malwa. We are deeply grateful to our sponsors JHERF, ARGA, and Edu Academic Inc., whose generous support has made this program possible. And your active participation continues to enhance these platforms, fostering the global exchange of innovative ideas and academic practices. It is an honor to once again welcome our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni sir, Associate Professor at GSFC University, Vadodara, for his second session in this program. Welcome, sir. And
Thank you,
as
madam.
many of you are already familiar with his insightful session on writing research paper or reports and understanding impact factors and publication facets. So without any delay, I kindly invite Dr. Suni sir to commence his presentation. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Yeah. So good evening, all. Please confirm the screen sharing. Yeah. So it's screen visible, madam?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So again, good evening to all. So the topic for today's discussion is hypothesis testing and development. So today is the fifth or sixth day of the faculty development program. And I have begun this faculty development program with how to write a research paper and understanding impact factors, and then gradually you have gone through literature review, data analysis, kind of the part, Excel analysis. So uh, you know so I have started my session, and I had already explained that research is a systematic journey and step by step process, right? So again, today I'll stick to my basic, terminology, that yes, research is a step-by-step process, and we have to follow step-by-steps, right? So we cannot overlap, or we cannot, forget, or we cannot, missed out any of the link of the research that we have decided, right? And it is very important to go your research to be on the scientific mode. Then we have to respect as a researcher all the aspect of the research, as and when we are proceeding for that. So it is very important that all the parameters of research should be guided and justified on the scientific platform. And it is a responsibility of the researcher to carry out this kind of aspect on the scientific mode, and finally conclude your research to be on the scientific mode. So this is the gradual process, and you will learn gradually once you will deep dive into this particular process. So I'll begin my session with this note, with the hypothesis testing and development, or I can say design. So before proceeding this session, I just wanted to know why hypothesis needs to be designed in the research study. Can I have the answers? Why hypothesis needs to be designed? What is the logic behind it?
Because they give direction to the research.
Direction of the research, kind of, but not exactly. It is because directions will be definitely derived from the literature review that we are going to do, right? But yeah, certainly we can say. But yeah, any more answers from the participants? Why hypothesis needs to be designed?
So for testability,
Yes, testability for what? What you are testing in hypothesis, or rather I can say in research.
To check the results are significant or not.
Okay. On which data you are checking these results? You are nearest to the answers. See, there is two kind of things that we have to learn. So whenever research starts, always you should have the clarity about these two terminologies. Population, clear, and another one is sample, clear. So you tell me which kind of data are you taking, then you are designing hypothesis. Are you designing hypothesis for checking population result, or are you taking hypothesis for checking sample results?
Sample.
Perfect. So the answer which I was asking to you is, when hypothesis needs to be designed, so whenever we are taking the sample study into practice, then there is a need of hypothesis. Why? Now the question is, why in sample study we need to design hypothesis? So the simple answer to this question is, whenever we are doing any sample study, we are not checking each and every parameters of the target audience that we are aiming for, but we are just taking the representative out of this total population that we are trying to prove in our research. Right? Let's say I want to conduct one particular study into Baroda city or Indore city, right? So the population of this particular city is nearest to 30 lakhs to 50 lakhs, right? So this is called population, right? If at all I talk about Baroda city, so it is 50 lakh population. So can I do 50 lakh population survey?
No,
Should I invest?
not possible.
Not possible. Right. So simple answer, right. Rather than checking the parameters within time, monetary aspect, the simple answer which I have received from your side is not possible. Then what is the possibility? We have to go for the sample. So sample is nothing but the representative of certain parameters out of the total population that we are trying to prove. And whenever we are going for the sample study, right, the researcher needs to design the hypothesis. Clear. So that is very, very important, that the sample is a representative of the population. So out of this sample, many a times you all have gone through the PhD work, or many of you are already going through the PhD work. So let's say if I'm taking 500 samples out of this 50 lakh population, is it possible? Is it possible?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is the ratio of the sample and population? If I'm taking 500 sample for 50 lakh population, so every one sample represent 50,000 population. It represent 50,000 population. Are you getting it? So we are concluding in sample study research and hypothesis that whatever the response we are receiving from any one individual sample, and we are making conclusion of the same test and preferences for the rest of the 50,000 population. because we are not checking all this 50,000 in front of one sample. So we are just making inferences about the results that we are receiving from the sample for the population. That's why the hypothesis is considered to be the inferences about the population based on the sample study, or rather I can say based on the sample results that we have received from the analysis. I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, sir.
Right. So please take these things very carefully. Now let's recall the process. Right. So there is one process where you need to design hypothesis. Clear? Where you need to design hypothesis. Now tell me, you are designing hypothesis based on what? Before hypothesis, what you are looking for in research study? If at all you are drafting your research paper or PhD thesis, right? Before hypothesis, what you are drafting?
Rationale study.
Sorry?
Rationale of the study.
Rationale. So can I say objective?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Before objective, what you have studied? That means I'm asking, you are deriving objective based on what?
So research questions.
Okay, good. Research questions. Perfect. Okay. Or rather, I can say based on objective, you can derive research questions. So we can flip this sequence,
Yes, sir.
right? Because we have to derive first objective and then question. Okay, valid point. Okay, so then before question and objective, what you are deriving?
Research gap.
Perfect. Research gap. How you are deriving research gap based on what?
Literature.
Review of
Perfect. Literature review.
literature.
And you are doing literature review based on what?
Variables by constraint.
And okay, you are perfectly right. So you are getting variable from where?
From topic title.
Perfect. So this was the case, right? This was the case. So whenever you have to reach to the hypothesis, these are the steps that you must need to undergo before reaching to the hypothesis. I hope I'm making sense. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now let's discuss after designing hypothesis, what you are doing. What you are doing. Question are framed, objective done, research gap identified based on LR, and LR has been done based on title. Now
Methodology, sir.
Data collection work.
Data collection.
Right. Somebody has told the methodology, so these are the part of methodology only. Clear? So this is a part of RM. Research methodology. Clear? Fine
Yes,
enough? Then we
Yes,
are
sir.
going for data collection. Right. Research can be understood by one slide. You know, you don't have to go with slide by slide, right? This is a logical discussion that we have to do. Data collection. Data collection, after data collection, what you will do?
Analyze the data.
Analysis.
Analyze here.
Yes, data analysis. Perfect. Based on data analysis, what you will do? You have already done interpretation as
Testing
well.
hypothesis.
So that is a part of interpretation, right? So testing hypothesis will be done at this point. Once the testing hypothesis and analysis done, what you will do?
It's time to finding. Finding.
Yes, we will get the findings.
Findings and conclusion.
Conclusions.
Perfect.
Finding is suggestion, then conclusion.
Right. Whatever it is, right? Whatever sequence that we are following, but ultimately we conclude as a findings, right? Okay. So based on findings and conclusion, can you check that based on finding and conclusion, your hypothesis has been proven or not? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. If not proven, can you go back to the title? If the hypothesis is not proven, do you feel that there is a need of changes in the title?
No need.
Obviously, you can. Usually people always starts with title and then reaching to finding conclusion. But I feel it, you have to take a rough title. You have to proceed it, right? Gradually you are doing literature review. You are finding gaps, right? You are drafting objective, designing hypothesis, collecting data, doing analysis, having findings and conclusion. And based on these parameters, right, you might have certain assumptions and parameters. So how these assumptions and parameters be, and accordingly you can proceed further for the rest of the parameters. I hope it is clear. And if at all your finding is slightly deviating from the title that you have derived, so you have two options. You cannot carry your research work to be on the submission node with the deviation in title and findings. So you have two options. Either you can modify the title or you can modify your data and variables. So which is a convenient option?
Title.
Perfect.
We can also conclude it variable, change to the variable.
You can. If at all the person who belongs to PhD, right? So in Indian pattern, the title has been freeze at the beginning, right? So they don't have options to change the title. So in that case, you are right, sir.
Yes.
We have to modify objectives. We have to modify the variables. But if we are submitting our research paper, then why to do this? We can change your title. And that is how the Scopus journals are working, right?
Yes.
The synchronization process that you are seeing on this PPT, right, which I have mentioned step-by-step things. If the complete synchronization has been noted throughout your research, then your paper will be accepted in the first or second attempt. Clear? So at no point the deviation should be there, and that's where the hypothesis plays a significant role in terms of proving your study to be correct on the scientific ground with the consultation of mapping title and findings and conclusion. Right? So hypothesis is a midpoint for the research journey. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. So this is what is introduction. So hypothesis is, we have already discussed, it is an assumption of the population, right? Because hypothesis study is designed for the sample study, right? So whatever that we are deriving, that we are collecting, right? We have to make certain assumptions, right? For the samples, right? So that is what it is about, the assumption about the population based on the sample study that we have done. Right. It is a characteristics of populations that can be measured in terms of mean and variances. Right. So usually whenever you are testing your hypothesis, always remember whatever results that you are trying to prove in terms of the sample study. Right. So whatsoever test that you are using, do you recall any test that you are using for the analysis purpose? You might have undergone certain tests in the previous sessions also in this FTP only. So do you recall any test so that I can guide you accordingly? Any test that you are using or previously you have undergone, during your attempt of the FTP program? Any test do you recall? No test? Okay. Let me suggest you independent sample T test. Yes. Have you heard about this? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please answer. Yeah, I'm very scared.
Actually, voice is cracking in between, no? So not getting.
My voice is cracking?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Sometimes
let me
it is
check.
disconnected.
Okay. Now it is clear?
It's clear now, sir. Clear now.
Okay. So बता दीजिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. We will see to it if it is technicalities. ठीक है? चलिए. Okay. So what is, the mean and variances? Have you heard about any test that you are using for data
हाँ
analysis?
यार मेरा मोबाइल पे ज्यादा देर connected हो पाया.
Hello. Are you aware about any test for data analysis that you have applied
Sir, it
previously
is a
or?
self-developed, researcher prepared test, listening proficiency test, which I developed.
Okay, proficiency test is a kind of basic analysis, but if at all we talks about the statistical analytical point of view, then you have t-test,
Yeah, okay. Yes.
so
Chi-square
then
test.
you have ANOVA,
Yes, correct.
right? So
Chi-square.
this t-test is all about checking the mean values, right? This ANOVA test is about checking variances. If you recall, the another name of ANOVA test is analysis of variance, right? And variance is a representation of the risk factors, how much amount of variations in the opinions, right? So if at all you want to check the risk factor involved in opinion or might be the prices of the financial data, then you can go for ANOVA test, right? So this is it's all about. I cannot see the chat box, right? So if at all is somebody is writing in chat box, so I cannot, recall. So please be interactive during the class because I have shared the screen, so I cannot be able to see the chat box. It must be identified before analysis, right? So whether we have to go for mean analysis or variance analysis, right? The decisions we have to take before analysis. And who will give me an idea? That is, idea has been done by the hypothesis. The hypothesis design will give you an idea whether you are going for mean or variances, because the factor or the variable that you are trying to test for the research purpose, it will decide which sort of test that you are going to apply. Is it clear up to now?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is basically, it is called null hypothesis, and this is called alternate hypothesis, right? So I hope you all are aware about it.
Yes, sir.
What is the logic behind this? We are designing null and alternate. Do you have any idea? See, basically, if you heard the null, then null always says no difference. Yes or no?
Correct, sir.
And alternate says there is a difference,
Yes.
right? So null says whatever we are assuming is correct. There is no deviation. There is no need for study. And alternate says that what you are assuming is slightly not correct, but there is some deviation for which you have to go for the analysis. So this is called alternative. So this is null and this is alternative. Null says no difference, no scope of further study. Alternate says there is a scope of study where you have to go for further analysis point of view. Clear? And that's why majorly the researcher or any university or any journals, whenever you are saying it, they majorly focus upon the acceptance of alternate hypothesis. Yes or no? But in scientific language, if you see any good quality journals paper, you must observe that always the researcher in data analysis and interpretation, they will always give a judgment for all the hypothesis analytical point of view in terms of whether null is accepted or rejected. They never write that alternate is accepted or rejected, but they always says whether null is accepted or rejected. They never ever try to mention alternate is going to be accepted. Please do remember this, right? Because if at all you are entering into the research field, so these are the technicalities that you must have to observe. Always your decision should be rely on null hypothesis, but not an alternate. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So please take care of this. Okay. Then testing hypothesis. So I already told you that hypothesis needs to be designed for the sample study. So sample study is always designed from the population, and we are making assumption about the population based on the sample, right? That means based on sample mean, we are also making assumption about population mean as well, right? So whatever mean that has been received for any particular sample, we assume that the same mean will be prevailed in population, right? But how much it is correct, that we will see in the next slide with the significance level, right? And after collecting the data, researcher needs to calculate sample statistics. That is nothing but the data analysis and interpretation part that we have already discussed, right? So already whenever hypothesis has been designed, the next step that researcher needs to carry is to have the analysis of the data and give their opinion, judgment, and conclusion about the behavior of the data on the particular topic, right? And that is what the judgment needs to be passed in terms of whether the sample data are correct to represent the entire population or not, right? So based on analysis, your judgment needs to be passed, right? Whether the entire population is correct or not. That means the hypothesis which you have designed is correct or not. So H0 and H1. Right. So population means whether your first assumption was correct or not, that is null. But if there is a deviation, then you have to go for second assumption, that is alternate. Is it clear? So that is how the judgment has been passed in terms of null, accepted, or rejected. We never use the terminology called alternative is accepted or rejected. Clear? As we have discussed in the previous slides. Okay, fine. Okay, next is, you can see this. Now we have to decide. So we have already gone through it. We have to design hypothesis. Based on hypothesis, we have to collect the data. And based on data collection, we have to go for the various tests. But we also have to check whatever results that we have derived out of the data analysis. We need to make an assumption. We need to make a certain parameters, whether our hypothesis is going to be accepted or rejected based on certain parts. So we have to take a judgment whether our p-value is falling into acceptance region or rejection region of the null. So here you can also see to it. Here there are two observations, right? The first observation is you can see this in both the cases of p-value, whether it is greater than 0.05 or less than 0.05. I have used only null hypothesis, which I have already told you in the previous slide. And also you can see this. I never write the accepted word for null hypothesis. In both the cases, I use reject, right? So always the judgment has been passed in terms of rejection of null hypothesis. Even we are not writing in good quality journals that null hypothesis is accepted, but rather we write we failed to reject null hypothesis. Can you see this?
Yes.
Right. So this is a research language that we have to use as far as the data analysis judgment that needs to be passed in terms of the p-values, right? Whether it is falling into acceptance or rejection region of null hypothesis, but we use two terminologies always in all the hypothesis analysis and interpretation, that is null and reject. If it is rejected, write reject null hypothesis. If you need to accept null hypothesis, you should not write accept null hypothesis, but you have to write we failed to reject null hypothesis, because researcher always do the research with the aim and assumption of the rejection of null hypothesis. And many a times you have noticed in your PhD thesis also that your guide is always insisting you change the data, because all the times your null hypothesis is accepted. So if at all null hypothesis is accepted, that means you are failed to decide your research gap properly. But sometimes it might happen. That doesn't mean that researcher has done the wrong attempt, right? Because if at all you are knowing the result that alternative is going to be accepted every time, then I think no need to go for research, because if at all you know the results, then where is the scope of research, right? So the acceptance of null hypothesis is also one of the results, and we have to accept it very positive manner. Sometimes we have seen the negative attitudes of the people, but sometimes it's possible, but not every time we have to do it. And not every data will have a characteristics that every time the rejection of null hypothesis will come into the picture. Sometimes fail to reject null hypothesis is also going to be accepted, right? So both the results are the possibilities. So any results can be the part of the research, and we have to accept it very positively, right? So that is what it's all about, the acceptance and rejection in terms of the p-value that we have derived, right? So p-value, you can see this greater than 0.05 and less than 0.05. So if the p-value is greater than 0.05, so null hypothesis is going to be accepted. And if the p-value is less than 0.05, the null is rejected. I'm using this language right now for your convenience, for your understanding. But in research, you should not write this way. You have to write in this way.
Sir, again, voice problem is there, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Right. In research, you should not use this language that, null is accepted or rejected, but you always have to use this terminology in terms of acceptance and rejection of the null hypothesis, right? So you always use we fail to reject and we reject the null hypothesis. But I have just given this assumption for your understanding that when the null hypothesis is going to be accepted in research and when the alternate hypothesis is going to be rejected in research. I hope it is clear. Any doubt till now, please ask me.
Clear, sir.
Anyway, you don't understand or you need some clarification on certain parts, so you can ask me right now.
Sir, here is the meaning of a p-value that we are calculating value is the p-value
P-value is, sir, probability value.
that we are calculating. Suppose I am putting one sample t-test or I am making a formula and find out the value. That value become the p-value.
Right. So if you use any software, so you might receive significant value.
So
it will come in the later
p-value
slides. It will come in the later slide. I have already put, there's some results of the test. So it will get clarified at the later stage, right? So that will be done. Okay. And once your p-value has been received, right? So if there is null hypothesis accepted, so that means no research is needed for further. So if
Sir,
at all
may
you
I
are
ask
using,
something?
hello.
Can I ask something?
Yes, please.
Sir, I want to know that can we quantify the rejection of null hypothesis?
Quantify?
The rejection of null hypothesis?
In what sense you are asking?
Sir, simply I want to ask that if there is some deviation from the null hypothesis, then we are rejecting it. So can we say how much deviation is there?
Yeah, so I was just looking at the next point in that way only. Right. Just wait for 2 minutes, it will be clear.
Okay,
Right.
sir, thank you.
Right. So if the null is accepted, so then there is no scope of further analysis. So if at all you are using independent sample t-test or ANOVA test, you might have mean rank table, right? So if your hypothesis for all the factors is saying that no difference, then you don't have to go for the mean rank analysis. In terms of finding, let's say if I'm looking for the significant difference of opinion between gender profile for the online banking factors. So if at all the p-value is greater than 0.05, that means whether it is male or female, nobody is making difference of opinion. And that's why my null is accepted with the consideration of the p-value which I have received is greater than 0.05. Right? That is one case. Now let's talk about the second case. If my p-value is less than 0.05, that means if at all I'm receiving the p-value 0.000 like this, then this says that it is less than 0.05, yes or no? So in this case, there is a chance of further analysis because your alternate is accepted and alternate says that there is a difference. There is a difference. Now, let's say in gender profile, you have noted the difference of opinion for factors of online banking. Now in gender profile, I need to find out who is making difference of opinion significantly, male consumers or female consumers. Then I can go for further analysis of the mean rank table. And that will give you an idea about the significant difference that we have received out of both the profiles. Whether male are making difference of opinion or females are making difference of opinion. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
How we will see in the next slide. Yeah. Right. So before going with, let's understand this significance level. What is the significance level? So significance level is nothing but the chances of errors. It is the chances of errors, right? So whenever we are conducting any study, there might be a possibility that the results that we are receiving might get variation, right? Why it is variation? So remember this slide. Remember this slide. One sample represent 50,000 population. So do you think that I can conclude the opinion of one person with the respect of 50,000 in a same manner, 100% manner, or there would be a chances of error with person to person?
There are chances.
Right. So to assume the chances of error, we are assuming significance level. I hope it is clear.
Yes.
sir.
Right. And this significance level is considered to be chances of error. And in social science, we are taking 5% chances of error, which is quite high in comparison to the medical science. Because human behaviors are keep more changing, keep influencing by the opinions of others, surrounded by the people, right? Today, tomorrow, today the person is saying something, tomorrow the opinion might change with the influence of the relatives, friends, boss, colleagues. But in a sense, the medical and chemical science, right? They are working on some models. They are working on some formulas, right? H2O and something. So right. So in that case, there would not be a chances of any errors, right, or any variations in the results if at all we are making mix up of two chemicals, or rather in medical science if at all we are developing any human drugs, right? Because if at all any pharmaceutical company needs to approve the human drugs, they cannot allow the variations up to 1% or more than that. Otherwise it has the negative impact on the human bodies, right, which can affect very negatively to human bodies, and the people will have to suffer, right? So the medical science needs to take care that the drugs that they are putting into the market should not provide the variation more than 1%. But in human science, it is based on opinion, assumptions, and assumptions are keep changing, right? And that's why we are allowing to 5%. Right. So this 5% is nothing but whatever results that we are producing in terms of acceptance and rejection of the null hypothesis, right? So based on the acceptance and rejection that we have received in our study, we are also informing to the society that whatsoever results that you are studying in this particular research, kindly take into consideration that there would be a chances of 5% here and there. That is nothing but the significance level. I hope it is clear.
Clear, sir.
Right. So that is what is significance level. Now let's see the acceptance and rejection based on the distribution curve. Right. So this is a distribution curve. So this is a rejection region. This is a rejection region. Rejection region of what? Null. And this is an acceptance region. Acceptance region of what? Null. Right. So this is a significance level 0.05 on both the side. Whether you are going for minus infinity or plus infinity. Right. So if at all your p-value is falling into this region, means this is the borderline of the significance level. So if your p-value is falling into this area, this is called the rejection region of null hypothesis in both the sides. Yeah. And this is the borderline of 0.05. So if at all your p-value is greater than 0.05, your p-value is falling into acceptance region, right, of null hypothesis. So if at all your p-value is greater than 0.05, so it is belonging to this area. It is belonging to this area, right? So this is called acceptance region of null hypothesis, right? So that makes no difference, right, in the analysis, in the study part, right? And if at all your p-value is falling into rejection region, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. Clear? So this is how you have to prove your analysis, and this is how you have to give the judgment, right? So with that consideration, right, we have tried and tested the different test-wise hypothesis, right? So here you can see this, the normality test, right? So normality means you might be aware that if at all you are designing normality tests, so normality will give you a deviation whether your data are normal or not normal. Yes or no? Whether your data is normal or whether your data is not normal. Yes or no?
Yes.
So somebody was asking how to identify the p-value. So whenever you are applying any test in the software, you always have to check this significance value, right? So this significant value is representing the p-value. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
So this significant value is p-value. Now you can see this. There are various factors of online banking which has been mentioned over here, right? And for every factors, we have received the p-values, right? In this case, right? So this is a p-value for all the factors. Now what you have to do, you have to take a judgment whether it is greater than or less than 0.05.
Less than.
Perfect. It is less than, right? Obviously, right? We have learned in the mathematics that you have to make two figures, one side this and one side is significance. Now we have to decide which one is higher. So you have to open these two brackets on this side. The figure which is highest will receive the open bracket. Yes or no? So with the consideration, it put out to be less than sign. So we can assume that the p-value, right? So this is p-value. This is p-value. So this is p-value less than 0.05, right? This is significance level. So p-value is less than significance level. So what is there? Null is accepted or rejected? P less than 0.05, null accepted or rejected?
Reject. Reject.
Reject. Perfect. P less than 0.05. What is the p-value we have received? We have received p-value 0.0.
0.00.
You can check this. Less than 0.05. We reject the null hypothesis. Clear? Understood?
Yes, sir.
So we reject the null hypothesis. So we reject the null hypothesis. So data are normally distributed or not normally distributed? Data are not normally distributed. If data normally distributed for the analysis, you must have to go for parametric test for the further analysis. Clear? But if your data is not normally distributed, then you have to go for non-parametric test. I hope it is clear. And parametric test are always works on the mean and variance value. Clear? And non-parametric test are always works on mean rank. So these all things you will receive based on hypothesis testing for null hypothesis. Normality. Clear? So normality will give you an idea where you have to go further for the analysis point of view. I hope it is clear.
Sir, will you please tell what is parametric?
Parametric test is whenever your
Not
data
less, it
is
is not
normal,
more.
whenever your data is behaving normal distribution,
Okay.
right? You have to go for parametric test. And parametric tests are always working on the sample's mean value and variance. And non-parametric tests are always working on not the mean and variance value, but they are working on mean rank, right? So you have, let's say you have 500 samples. So every sample have a mean, yes or no? Every samples will receive a mean. Out of
Yes.
this sample, will you get a rank for the mean based on the highest mean will get a 1 rank and lowest mean will get a 2 rank, right? So you have a mean rank. So whatever conclusion that we have received for non-parametric test should be based on mean rank rather than mean value. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, you can see this some parametric test I will show you. So here you can see this parametric test. So you will see first this hypothesis. I told you that null hypothesis always consists no. Yes or no? And alternate says there is a difference. Clear? Now, first of all, just clarify when these hypotheses get accepted, when your p-value is greater than or less than 0.05.
Greater than.
Be confident, right? Now you have to be confident after this session.
Yes. Yes.
And this is a case when p less than 0.05. You tell me what is the case in this case. Where is the p-value? Yes or no? Now you might have a question. There are two p-values, obviously. So before parametric test, you also have to make one more assumption before normal, after normality, whether the data are equally variance or not. So again, the hypothesis for the normality and variance will be same, right? The data are normally distributed, data are not normally distributed. And for variance also, the data assume equal variance and data does not assume equal variance. So first of all, we have to check this p-value for equal variance assumed or not, because we have two p-values over here. You can see this, right? Two values. So which value we need to take? Equal variance assumed or equal variance not assumed? So you see this value, it is 0.00. So obviously we have to accept this hypothesis alternate. So henceforth, it says that equal variance not assumed. And then after you have to proceed for this hypothesis, that is inferential test of the main hypothesis for t-test. And based on this, you can see this 0.00. Again, it is less than p 0.05. And we can see that there is a significant difference about the population mean. Is that clear? Understood?
Yes.
How to take a judgment? See, you might have a confusion about the test because today my concept is hypothesis. So I'm trying to make you aware about how hypothesis needs to be designed, how p-value needs to be checked, how the confidence level needs to be applied in hypothesis, and based on that, how the judgment about the acceptance and rejection of null hypothesis needs to be done. Is it clear? If at all you don't know about the test, then I cannot help you out in this way. But yeah, as far as the acceptance criteria and all this aspect is concerned, I hope it is clear. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And based on this, so if at all, some person has asked me that, sir, what is the further analysis if null is rejected? So if null is accepted, no need to go for no need to go for this kind of further analysis. But if at all your null is accepted, rejected, so let's say this is ANOVA result, right? This is ANOVA result. So in this ANOVA result, you can see this, there are various factors of online banking, and this is a significance value P. So you can see this is greater than, but this is less than. Can you see this? This is greater than P value significance. This is greater than significance. Yeah?
Yes.
Right. So this is the factor where H1 is accepted. And for rest of all, H0 is accepted. Clear? So for which we have to go for further analysis. For H0 accepted factors or H1 accepted factors. This one, where the people is making difference of opinion. You can see this. When X1 is accepted, you need to go for further evaluation. And for further evaluation, you need to go for mean rank. And here you can see this mean rank table, right? Out of this age, right? Let's say we have seen this, the significant difference of opinion among the different age group for this particular factor, right? So which age group people are making significant difference of opinion for this factor? So let's check this. And you can see this, out of all this, which one is having the highest mean rank value? Can you see this?
Mhm.
And software has also given an asterisk. You can see this. So above 60 people, 60 years people are making significant difference of opinion for the factor of user friendliness of online banking. They have some difference of opinion in comparison to the rest of the age groups that we have covered as a part of analysis. Is it clear? Fine enough?
Yes.
Okay, so this is how you can check the various, so that's it from my side. I'm making this session open for question answer. If you have any questions, please let me know. Any questions for today? Yes, please. You can unmute yourself and you can ask. No issue. Yes, Deepika madam, you have a question. Please ask.
Yes, sir. So in the normal distribution curve that you showed, so you showed in the center part there was a acceptance region. On the right hand side towards plus infinity it was rejection, and towards minus infinity also there was some rejection part. So I just wanted to know, I understood about the acceptance region and the rejection region towards plus infinity. But I wanted to ask, what is the significance of the rejection region towards minus infinity in our actual work? Because the probability level will be always between 0 and 1. So, what is
So
the...
probability always comes between 0 to 1.
Yeah.
-1 to 0, 1.
0 and 1, right?
Right. 0 to 1.
So the rejection region which falls towards minus infinity, so what does it actually indicate in our work? So what is the significance? Like what we should relate?
Whenever you received a p-value, you might have received chi-square or z-test value. That should be either minus or plus. Based on that, your probability value will be bifurcated on whenever you are going for one-tail test or two-tail test. So whenever you have p-value on two side, you are going for two-tail test. That means you are receiving minus values and positive value for the test, not for the p-value.
Okay.
Right? Let's say if I'm going for one-way ANOVA and two-way ANOVA. So if I'm going for one-way ANOVA, I do not have minus or plus. I only have one side. That is called one-tail test.
Yes.
But if at all I'm going for two-tail test, they have minus and plus. So results can be, segregated in two sides. And even your significance level will also get, divided into two parts. Let's say if I'm taking 5%, so my significance level on minus side is 0.025 and on plus side it is 0.025.
So actually in that curve, the x-axis is not actually probability, but it is mean.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions?
So what is in a one-tail test and two-tail test? Just now we talked about
One tail and two tail means if at all you want to check the sample study with the population mean, you always go for one tail. But if you have some other parameters to check along with the sample, you have to go for two tail.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, any more questions? So no questions. Yes, Yashwant Kunhera sir, if you have any questions.
No, sir.
Okay. So fine. Thank you so much for lovely audience. Thank you so much Research Foundation of India for today itself for giving me this platform. Saurabh sir, Rajay sir, and thanks Neha madam for coordinating. I hope again this session will be useful for you for one of the aspect of hypothesis testing and development. And I hope it will give a more clarity as far as you are proceeding further for your research journey. All the best to all of you. And again, if at all you have any queries, always reach out to me. No issue for that. Right. So thank you so much, Neha madam.
Very nice session, sir. Very nice. Many ideas are cleared.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, always. Right. So be connected and do well for the future aspect also. And if at all any queries you feel it, always reach out to me as well at the personal level. No issue for that. Right. So research is a networking journey. So always be connected. It's not about only one session, but yes, always connect with RFI and with us also. So thank you so much for all of you for patiently listening. Thank you. Yeah. Over to you, Neha madam, please.
Thank you so much, sir. So, as we conclude today's session, we would like to express our heartfelt appreciation to all participants for your active engagement, enthusiasm, and meaningful contributions. A special thank you goes to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni, sir, for his invaluable insights and for generously sharing his expertise with us once again. I also wish to acknowledge the efforts of the organizing committee and its sponsors, whose unwavering support has been instrumental in making this program a success. And on this festive day, I also wish each of you a very Merry Christmas. And may this holiday season bring happiness and success into your lives. Thank you so much.